Andy Johnson, Minnesota State University, Mankato. We are looking at an advanced pedagogical technique called inquiry learning or inquiry-based learning. First of all, what do you associate with the word science? Science is not a thing. Science is a verb. To science. It's a matter of asking questions, gathering data to answer those questions. There's no such thing as one scientific method or the scientific method. There are methods of science. Inquiry learning is simply employing methods of science in the teaching and learning process. Quick overview, the basics. You ask a question, or you help your students ask a question. You gather data, and then you use the data to answer the questions. Simple, simple, simple. Keep things simple. That's the basic essence. There are three methods of science. There's probably more than that, but we are going to look at the basic three: creating groups or inductive analysis, investigation, and then experiments. Observation. It is using inductive analysis. You look at a group and you look for patterns and you put things in groups based on the patterns. For example, I did this with a kindergarten class. Put a bunch of shoes in a pile. What patterns do you see? What groups do you see? So you look for patterns. That's what scientists use. They look at rocks. They say, oh, here are some different kinds of rocks. Let's put them in groups. Let's create patterns. So you describe the whole based on the patterns. As an example, in my class, I will ask students to describe embarrassing things that have happened in their lives. Meet in groups of 5. They look for groups or patterns because they have a whole group of embarrassing things. Then they report the groups and numbers within each group based on the pattern. So they're able to quantify their embarrassment. For example, accident type of embarrassments, performance, dressing, and social. That's the basic essence of inductive analysis. Investigation, you ask a question first, collect data, and then organize data to answer the question. For example, in inductive analysis, we didn't ask a question, we just looked at reality and created groups. Here we ask a question first. For example, what kind of dessert do most people prefer? How would you answer that question? Well, you could get a data retrieval chart and you could actually have students put a tally mark when they see children picking a dessert or when they ask them. We're creating structure here, or you could separate the males and the females, the boys and the girls, to see if there was a difference. We're asking a question, gathering data, and using that data to answer that question. Here are some other types of inquiry questions you might use. What types of behaviors occur at recess? And they put a tally mark, or in study hall. Now notice it's about the process of science. The answer isn't that important, but it's the process. And in this process, they're learning how to observe, how to record data, and they will be using technical writing to report the data. That's what makes inquiry so powerful. Study hall behaviors. What type of movie do 5th grade students prefer? There's my nice data retrieval chart. Data retrieval chart is any graphic organizer that's used to help students collect and organize data. Here's some things I used in a reading class. What are some words with SH in them? In the beginning, middle, and ending. So I'm using it not only to investigate or to teach the process, but to reinforce letter sounds or suffix reports. Noun report, same thing. What type of nouns were found in this story? The different types of nouns. They could create a graph if that's what you want to do. Surveys are a type of investigation. You ask a question and you design questions around that major question. You can ask closed response or open-ended questions. For example, a closed response question. What kind of books do you like to read? And then you provide the responses. All right? Disadvantages are that it's controlling, often miss the real response, and it's less enjoyable to answer. But you can quickly ask a number of questions. It's real easy to quantify, gives you specific numbers, and the categories are already created and easy to respond to. An open-ended question simply asks a question that allows for total freedom of response. What kind of books do you like to read? And children simply respond. Then you use inductive analysis to create the groups. You get more accurate information here. Responses are more real, more enjoyable to answer, can provide more than one answer, and students observe and group to find the patterns. It's a little bit more messier, and you generally can ask fewer questions. Experimenting is what we traditionally think of the scientific method. All right? You have a test or procedure of some sort that's based on a question. You ask a question, collect data in an experiment, you manipulate a variable, organize data, and then you answer the question. All right? I have some videos and mini lessons related to that found at that website there. That was a quick overview, by the way.